Welcome to the program, everyone. Support comes from ZBiotics. Now, let me be honest with you. After a night with a couple of drinks, I don't bounce back the next day the way that I used to. I used to think I had a choice. I had to choose, right? Either have a great night or a great day. Well, that changed when I found ZBiotics pre-alcohol. That all changed. ZBiotics pre-alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic invented by PhD scientists to help you feel better the morning after drinking. And here's why it works, okay? Because when you drink alcohol, it turns into a toxic byproduct right in your gut. It is that buildup. It's not dehydration. That's what causes those rough mornings. ZBiotics pre-alcohol produces an enzyme that breaks all of that down for you. It breaks that byproduct down. So I make it my first drink of the night. I drink responsibly, and I enjoy my evening, and I wake up feeling like myself again, and you can too. I first tried it before dinner with friends, took it before my first cocktail, and the next morning I felt clear, I felt focused and on my game. So go to zbiotics.com/lemon and get 15% off of your first order with the code LEMON. It is backed by a 100% money back guarantee, no risk. That's zbiotics.com/lemon. Now let's get started. Let's get started, everyone. Hello, welcome to Lemon Live at 5. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Excuse me, I almost thought that I was on the morning show. Thanks for joining us this evening. You know the first order of business, hit the likes, please. Okay, if you haven't, I'll give you the opportunity to go. I'll give 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2. All you have to do is go on your screen there and hit the thumbs up. The little thing that there should be one thumbs up, one thumbs down right next to that. I think it's a heart button or a message or whatever. Not the heart button, the message button, but right there. Okay. So thank you for that. No matter what you're following us on, thank you for watching us on YouTube. Thank you for watching us on Twitch, on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, and Substack. Whatever platform you're watching us on, thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow. Okay. We have important conversations here, and we want that algorithm to push it out so that we get the best engagement and we can inform people and they will know about our channel that is growing rapidly. We want to keep it growing. So thank you all for joining us. I appreciate it. I hope that your week is winding down well. Unfortunately, for some folks in our country, they are under a tyrannical threat right now. They are being, I believe, abused and discriminated against and manhandled and terrorized. Terrorized is the best word. And that's the folks who are in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so, or just in the Minnesota area, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then it's also happening in other places like California, et cetera. I just want to show you some of there were folks who spoke out at a hearing. We had someone on from Minnesota who was part of the Minnesota Freedom Fund. His name is Eliezer Darris. He's going to join us in just a moment. But I want to show you what happened at that hearing that he talked about this morning on the show, some of the testimony, and then Eliezer is back with us to give us a breakdown of what happened. Here it is.
I immediately started repeating over and over again, I'm a citizen, I'm a citizen, I'm a citizen. But the agent did not stop to look at my ID. As second ICE agent entered the restaurant, they dragged me outside and put me into a headlock on the ground. I repeated, I'm a citizen, I have an ID. The agent kept saying, that don't matter, that don't matter.
When I was inside my cell, I heard wailing, screaming, crying, begging, and pleading from women, men, and children. Alongside that visceral anguish was the small talk, banter, and laughter from the federal agents outside our cells, clearly desensitized to the deep and audible pain right in front of their eyes.
And so those were just some of the stories, some of the testimony at that hearing. Let's bring in now Eliezer Darris. He's the executive director of the Minnesota Freedom Fund, and later we're going to be joined with an activist, a lawyer, and the former president of the Minneapolis NAACP. She's going to join us in a bit, and then an independent journalist from Minnesota who's been documenting all of this. A lot of the footage that we're getting is from her. So stand by for them. Eliezer Darris is with us. Eliezer, Mr. Darris, thank you so much for joining us again. You were in that hearing and you heard some of this testimony. What did you hear?
It was really difficult to hear some of the testimony because I felt like I was reliving, much of the same trauma that I've experienced as a frontline organizer and as a frontline advocate. We had testifiers that, run the gauntlet from governmental officials, the mayor of Minneapolis, the attorney general. We had a police chief, but then we had a number of community members, some of whom you just heard from, were brutalized as American citizens, screaming repeatedly, I am a citizen. I am a citizen. I am a citizen. That wasn't enough. This same person actually had, I believe, his passport on him. They would not look. They refused to look at it. They took him out of his home anyway and took him down to the Whipple building, which is the federal building, anyway, after brutalizing him. And then we had several other testifiers who spoke as well in terms of some of the brutality that they experienced. One person gave the example that without any lawful order, without any order at all, she was told to get out of her vehicle, her and a companion, and they tear gassed into the ventilation of the vehicle and eventually began bursting out of the windows to eventually remove them, all while being silent, and eventually remove and detain them. This was some of the testimony that came from the community, and quite frankly, the representatives and the senators that came, it was about 30 of them. Some of them interchanged seats, so when one left, others came, because it wasn't enough to accommodate all of them at one time. We were probably able to accommodate maybe 20 or more at a time. So there were many more that must have been waiting in a wing somewhere, and they were interchangeable. But I could see the faces of disgust, of horror, of disappointment, of sadness, as these stories came across the microphones to our federally elected officials. And when they spoke with great passion. They were appreciative of our resistance to this tyranny, to this unchecked, unmitigated, violent tyranny that's coming from the federal government right now, particularly through the hands of the Department of Homeland Security. And I was appreciative of hearing them tell us, lift up the resistance that we are giving as community members. We don't have guns. We don't have battering rams. We don't have bear cats. We don't have full body armor. What we have is a belief in our community. We have a belief in each other. We have a belief in the Constitution that is supposed to equally protect all of us. We believe in this. And because we believe so ardently, we are willing to put our bodies, our careers, we're willing to put everything on the line. And I was appreciative that they lifted that up.
You gave a rousing speech. If we can get that, producers, I want to show some of it, and just let me know if you have it. But you gave a rousing speech. What was the meeting that you spoke at?
This was a press conference actually called by Nakima Libby Armstrong, who is one of the frontline organizers, one of our staunchest organizers.
She's going to join us a bit later. She's joining us in a couple minutes.
Yeah, so she called a press conference and she called a number of community leaders, directly impacted people, to come down to the government center and to raise our voices about our experiences and what our expectation was in the face of near silence from our elected, locally elected officials. And so this press conference, in terms of what I wanted to talk about at the press conference, this was the outcome.
Well, I want to, today I think you got an answer to what you said at that press conference, but I want to play what you played at the press conference earlier in the week, and then I want to see if you got any satisfaction today. Here it is.
We can expect nothing to come from the federal government, so we need our local authorities to stand up or tell us you are abandoning us. Tell us you are going to allow federal tyranny.
That's right.
We're talking about murder.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Say that you're going to leave us at the hands of a federal government that is unchecked, that has no checks, no balances. Tell us that you're going to allow them to murder us and do nothing.
That's right.
then we can make a decision of who we need in those seats to protect and defend us. So what does that leave? It leaves the state. I'm here today to call upon our local officials to stand up. Say stand up. Stand up. And do something. And do something. Stand up. Stand up. And do something. And do something. Why did we send you here? Yes. If the county attorney won't prosecute, if the attorney general won't prosecute, if the governor won't order an investigation, if the sheriff won't conduct an investigation, if the police chief won't conduct an investigation, and then if the BCA this morning will release a statement and say the feds told us to stay out of it, and then they say, okay, wow, we'll stay out of it. When have they ever done that? We locally have the authority to investigate. We expect this county attorney in this county, right here in Minneapolis, to bring charges. We expect this attorney general office to support any investigative needs, any charges that may be brought. The support coming from the top is what we need, because we will get justice nowhere else. That's right. They've already said it. They've already expressed it. We should not expect it.
You're muted, Don.
So tell us who was there, because there were a number of elected officials there, from the senator. I'm not sure if the governor was there. I don't believe that he was. And then representatives, Ilhan Omar, right, Pramila Jayapal, and others. Who was there, and did you get any satisfaction? Do you think they heard you?
Yes, they were there and they heard us. I am unsatisfied. I am not going to pretend as though I am. We're being told things like, don't take the bait. When you think about bait, like a worm on a hook, nothing bad would happen if you don't take bait. Nothing bad happens. We're not dealing with bait. The bait that we're talking about is the brutalization of our community members, whether you are a legal resident or not. Anyone can face brutality right now with this untethered government, with the untethered government action happening right now at any time. And so when we say don't take the bait, what does that mean? No, we aren't the problem. The problem right here is an outsized, oversized federal response happening inside of our community that is unchecked, completely unmitigated. And what I am still not hearing from my locally elected officials, I appreciate the congressional delegation that came here today. I appreciate the strength and the vigor that they spoke with. But I cannot sit and pretend as though I'm satisfied with our local response. You heard me say there are 3 local investigative bodies right now that can investigate this shooting death of Renee Good and turn a file over, not even a charging decision, but turn a file over to either the county attorney or the attorney general. And none of these 3, neither Minneapolis Police, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department, or BCA, none of them are investigating right now independently, because the FBI said to them, we're not going to work with you. And to date, none of them have made the determination that we are going to independently investigate this. We have enough information to at least turn a file over to a prosecuting authority, who can then make a decision of whether or not they believe the use of force that actually resulted in loss of life was legal or not. None of them are doing it, right? They're all passing the buck. The governor right now can order the BCA superintendent to begin a solo investigation right now. Mayor Jacob Fry right now can instruct the Minneapolis police chief right now, irrespective of whatever the federal government has decided to do, right now investigate whether or not the laws of the state of Minnesota have been violated. And none of them, not one of them, have done it. You know what they're saying to us? Don't take the bait. You all are seeing what the bait is. They are brutalizing us. That's not bait. We will not stand by and just allow the continued brutalization of our community members and do nothing. Someone has to do something. Someone has to raise up and say this is wrong. Someone has to offer up resistance to this extremely outsized federalized response happening inside of our community that is unmitigated.
Why aren't they doing it?
Oh, you're trying to get me in trouble, Don.
That was a very simple question. I'm
Well,
not trying to get you in trouble.
the answer is actually
I'm trying to
complex.
help the folks like you. That's it. That's all. I'm not trying to get you in trouble.
The answer is actually complex. I think that there's a lot of politics at play here, right? And so you all have heard me say, listen, I recognize that what we're asking you all to do, it's not easy because you are potentially putting your electability on the line. You are potentially putting your career on the line. You may not get, if you're going for a statewide office or even if you're going for a larger federal office, you may not get rural support who may be more conservative, who may say they don't appreciate how you responded with vigor and strength in that particular instance. And so they are walking a certain type of line because I don't think they're thinking about the immediacy of now. I think that they're making what we call political calculus and thinking about what may be best. But then there's also the threat of the federal government of pulling out federal resources specifically and individually to our state. And then they're thinking about what is the economic impact if the president continues to use various tools to strangle our state, our individual state, our sovereign state into submission.
Again, I'll ask you again. I appreciate the answer, but why aren't they doing it?
Fear. That's the bottom line. It's fear. And I get that fear. I understand the fear. There's oftentimes, I'm afraid too when I go out and I'm staring down the barrel of AR-14s and hoping that the individuals that's on the other side of the trigger have enough discipline not to pull it, right? I'm afraid too when I'm sucking down tear gas into my lungs, thinking that it's ripping the very substance of my lungs out. I'm afraid too when people call me and say, there's an officer involved homicide, can you please get here now? I know what I'm going to be facing once I get there. And so I feel the fear too. So I understand we may be experiencing different fear, but they are afraid. They are afraid. And this is what I'm speaking to.
Afraid of the political ramifications, afraid of the president, afraid of that they may lose their jobs or they may make a decision that like what is the fear?
Yep, they're certainly afraid of the continued escalation coming from the president, especially when you think about his threat of using not martial law,
the Insurrection Act.
The Insurrection Act, which when you read the Insurrection Act, you see that it is unduly broad. It is overly broad. It leaves so much in the hands of the commander-in-chief to make a determination of whether he or she believes that in a given instance, right, something rises to the level of insurrection in which they can activate this particular act. There are not enough checks. There's not enough oversight over the utilization of this act. And it has been used a number of times over the years. I'll give the president that. But he wants to use it against the will of the governor. Most of the times when this act has been exercised, it has been at the request of the governor. Our governor is saying, we have this under control. You all do not have to continue to escalate and send even more forces. They have more forces in the Twin Cities right now than we have inside of the entire metropolitan area. That is Minneapolis, St. Paul, and all of the suburban law enforcement communities combined. We are completely invaded right now, and our forces are quite frankly overwhelmed by theirs.
I want to play a little bit of something, but stand by before I do that. I just need to get this in. I need to get a word in from our sponsors because I'm bringing some other folks on and I want to get theirs. And so I want to make sure that we take care of this. So viewers, Lemonheads, 2 minutes, and we're back with Mr. Darris and others. Support for the show comes from OneSkin. Can we talk about New Year's resolutions for a second? January used to be about reinventing everything. Now, for me, it's about doing an honest audit of what's actually working and doubling down on that. One thing I've gotten serious about, and that is my skin health. That's where OneSkin comes in. What I use is their daily skincare with OS1 peptide. I like it because it's not just about how your skin looks today. It's about long-term skin health at a cellular level. Their patented OS1 peptide is the first ingredient proven to target senescent cells, which are a root cause of wrinkles, loss of elasticity, and crepey skin. And this isn't hype. The results have been validated in 4 clinical studies. OneSkin products are dermatologist tested. They're safe for sensitive skin and free from over 1,500 harsh ingredients. They even earned the National Eczema Association seal of acceptance. Right now, you can get up to 30% off of your first 3 subscription orders when you use the code DON at oneskin.co/Don. That's oneskin.co/Don. And after you purchase, please tell them that we sent you. It really helps the show. The Don Lemon Show today is brought to you by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Now, I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying it. Equality under the law only works when the government stays neutral. The First Amendment wasn't written to protect one religion. It was written to protect all of us. Right now, that promise is under threat from Christian nationalists who believe their beliefs should control everyone's lives, whether you share those beliefs or not. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is pushing back. They're defending students, families, and communities from religious coercion, and they're standing up for the wall between church and state. If you believe freedom means freedom for everyone, this work matters. Visit ffrf.us/New Year or text DON to 511-511. That's DON to 511. ffrf.us/New Year or DON to 511-511. Text fees may apply. And thank you to our sponsors. Okay, we're back now with our guest, Mr. Darris, and he was on this morning. He is fighting for the people in Minnesota and really for the people all over the country. So Eliza Darris, thank you again, the Executive Director of the Minnesota Freedom Fund. We appreciate it. I want to play some of the testimony from the folks there and some of the questioning that we have. Do we have Congresswoman Crockett?
Yes.
Okay, let's play it.
This is pure racism. I don't know why we want to tinker around with it and pretend as if it's something other than what it is. I like to call a thing. And he has told us time and time again who he was when he talked about certain people being from certain shithole countries. Those are his words. Only reason I'm cussing in this moment. When he said things like they are eating the cats and dogs. We knew exactly what we were getting. And some people are saying, I don't know how we got here, but I do. Because we know that dehumanizing, I believe that you said something to the effect of cruelty and humiliation are the point. That's what you said, Miss Patty. Because when we look at other places, say places that did things like, go door to door, looking for people, as they had to hide out, say in an attic. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Or the images that I have seen of people being attacked by law enforcement, whether we're talking about dogs or fire hoses, it seems very reminiscent of something that we have seen before in this country. And then people get offended and try to say I'm too black, but the reality is that y'all never let the fact that I am black go. So I'm going to be clear about one thing. I know my good black history. And so when I look and I say, and I will say it loud and proud because the DH secretary had a few choice words for me, but this looks like modern day slave patrols. And they have been sanctioned by this Supreme Court. Whoever thought we would live in a country that progress looks like having a Supreme Court that says, yes, it is okay to look at somebody or to listen to their accent and give permission to grab them. The last time that I checked, ICE is only supposed to be doing immigration enforcement. And right now we have a record number of U.S. citizens that have not only been arrested, but as we saw with Renee, that have been killed, that have been maimed, that have been bullied, that have been brutalized, that have been unlawfully arrested. Y'all, we are living with an abuser right now. That is who Trump and his administration is. And frankly, I think we all have a little bit of PTSD. But if you know anything about a domestic abuser, the one thing about them that you need to know is that they are some of the biggest cowards that you will ever find. What they can't stand is when you actually fight back. And so thank you so much for everybody in Minnesota. But it is time for our entire country to stand together. Because if you don't recognize that we are all in the same sinking ship, whether you are black, white, Latino, African, whoever you are, the reality is that we have an administration that has decided that they are going to ignore our constitutional rights, and we will not stand for it. Otherwise, our democracy will fall. So.
And that was a Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. I want to bring some folks in as well. Excuse me. Nekima Levy Armstrong is here. She is a lawyer and activist and the former president of the Minneapolis NAACP. Georgia Fort is here, a Minnesota independent journalist. Rob Held is also here. I've worked with Rob in Chicago when I was there covering, and he was on the scene and he was giving people legal advice. A Chicago area attorney. Maybe you can call him an activist when we get to him. We'll see if that's a fair assessment. So thank you all for joining us as well. And by the way, Eliza Darris is here as the executive director at the Minnesota Freedom Fund. Thank you all for joining us so much. I appreciate the work that you are doing, Nekima and Georgia. Georgia, we would not have much of the footage that's bringing us inside of what's happening there. So I commend you as an independent journalist. Keep doing it. We support what you're doing. So were you guys at this hearing this morning?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So tell me, Georgia, Ms. Fort, what did you think of what the Congresswoman said? And I asked earlier to Mr. Darris if he was satisfied with what happened of the outcome, because he called in this meeting that Nekima Levy Armstrong called for earlier in the week. He said local officials, state officials need to stand up and act. So tell me what you think.
Well, I think in terms of Representative Jasmine Crockett, her statement really spoke to what's been on the hearts and the minds of many Black Americans in terms of the through line to slave catchers. We were drawing parallels to the white hoods of the KKK and the masks that these agents are wearing. And so I think she spoke directly to the experience of Black Americans. But when you zoom out and you really examine what the hearing was today, I do think it was a powerful demonstration among the congressmen and women who showed up today, a display of unity, a display of support for our state. However, I think that the people who are in this state, whether you're working professionally, whether you're protesting, people do want action. And so underscoring what Eliza said, folks are wondering when our politicians are going to stop using profanity on national television and actually start doing something here on the ground. The demands from organizers like Nekima and many others have been clear. Folks have continued to demand the arrest of Jonathan Ross. They've continued to demand that ICE leave our state. And I think even a step further, Nekima's called for either the head of the BCA to actually investigate Renee Good's killing or step down.
Nekima, your name was invoked. What do you say to that?
I say that it's time that Democrats in the state of Minnesota show stronger leadership. You know, we have a Democratic mayor, Democratic governor. They have some level of power and authority, but the way that they come across when they're talking to the public, it's as if they're helpless. Our mayor said they have bigger guns than us. So what does that say to the people? You're on your own. No one is coming to save you. And then when people show up, which they do, we have one of the most active and engaged communities in the country around organizing against police accountability, against ICE, against homeless encampments, on and on and on. When people do show up with their whistles, with their fireworks, with their rocks, or just with their voices, then we're told it's an unlawful assembly. You all are causing problems. So it makes no sense. You can't have it both ways. You can't leave the people completely unprotected. And then when they show up with the bare minimum of tools to protect themselves, tell them that they're the problem. That is absolutely insane. And so it's one thing to deal with the Trump administration, which we know is delusional. We know they lie. We know that they've unleashed hellhounds in Democratic cities across America. But it's another when you have Democratic leadership with no backbone. Again, it leaves the people unprotected, and it's unacceptable.
I want to bring in, thank you for that. I want to bring in now Robert Held, who is a Chicago-based attorney. He is now on the scene in Minneapolis right now. Mr. Held, thank you for joining us once again. You have been there. What are you seeing since you've gotten there? I know that you like to help the people who are dealing with this. What are you seeing now on the ground?
Okay, well, right now you can see and hear protesters behind me. There's perhaps 50 to 60 protesters with loud music, and I've walked away a little bit, but I've been here all day, and we had two major incidents. The ICE in full armed gear have come out. They've aggressively approached the crowd and made specific arrests of specific people. So earlier this morning, they went after a black woman that had been taking photographs and video of ICE coming into the Whipple federal building that's behind me. They singled her out. They clearly came out to arrest her. They did so, and then just about an hour ago, they came back again with a much larger force, perhaps 60 armed, riot gear clad federal officers that I believe was Border Patrol, and they went after an individual who is prominent on social media. I believe his handle is DeWoke Farmer, and they chased him a long way. I chased after them for perhaps a quarter mile. I believe they eventually took him into custody. Then they came back, lined up as a phalanx, and fired pepper balls at least twice into the crowd. I thought they were going to make another arrest, and I scampered to the back because I'm trying to stay married. But it was a violent incident, and they have ultimately backed away. Now they're not making their presence known, and we've got the protesters behind me that are showing their feelings toward ICE and the administration.
Where is this? Where is this? Is this in front of you or behind you? Can we? Well,
see? they're all behind me. All behind the reason I got so far away is because the music was so loud. I wanted the audio to be okay, but I think you can see the federal officer. I'm sorry, the protesters behind me over my shoulder, and we're at the Whipple Federal Building in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
One question for you, Robert Held. We were in Chicago and we witnessed some pretty brutal incidences. How is this in comparison to what you have witnessed? I know that you live in Chicago, you've seen much more, but from what you've seen so far.
I think there's a swagger and a brazen aggressiveness that I didn't see as much in Chicago. I think with Vice President Vance saying that they have absolute immunity and the other bizarre statements that the administration is making about the invulnerability of agents, there's an aggressiveness that I have not seen before. They, I get more on the videos than today, but today, the indiscriminate firing of pepper balls at peaceful, unarmed protesters was disturbing.
Stand by, Bob. If something happens, raise your hand and we'll get in. Nikema, you're shaking your head. You were in agreement with him about the swagger and the brazenness.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, they know we have, unfortunately, Democrats who talk tough on television. But when the rubber meets the road, what we get, unfortunately, is cowardly leadership, right? And so what do they have to fear? There are no guardrails around their conduct whatsoever, and the level of brutality that they have inflicted upon the Twin Cities is just out of control. I mean, literally, I don't know if you heard the story of what happened the other day after they shot a Venezuelan man in the leg. You know, they essentially unleashed flashbang grenades. Georgia was actually out there that night because she and I were in communication. So it was like a war zone in the streets of North Minneapolis, which is primarily Black and lower income community, although it is diverse. But
It's up
they
on the screen now.
grenades, tear gas, and actually they wound up shooting a flashbang grenade and hitting a vehicle that had a Black family in it with 6 children. And the 6-month-old in the vehicle actually stopped breathing and became unconscious. And the mother was on the phone with 911, learning how to give her baby CPR to keep her baby alive. And so her baby had to be hospitalized, plus 2 other children, completely innocent people. And the flashbang boom was so strong, it deployed all the airbags in that vehicle. So you have a family completely terrorized, just terrified, driving down the street, coming from their son's basketball game, subjected to this level of brutality and terrorism. It is like slave patrols. We have to remember history is repeating itself here.
Nakeem, I want to play this since you mentioned it. This is a short report on that, and also the man whose home was broken into with a battering ram. And the judge has said, we need to get an update on how the judges ruled and if they've let this guy go. And they have ruled that they violated his Fourth Amendment rights. So a short report on both of those. I want you to watch, and then we're going to get a response from you. Here it is.
Sorry, 1 second. 1 second, Don.
That's no problem. In the meantime, this is the video that you're looking at that happened after they shot the man in the leg. And then, Nakeem was telling us about the flashbang and all of that. Georgia, you were on the scene here, right? What did you see as you were on the scene?
When I arrived on the scene, there was smoke actually on both sides of the intersection that I arrived at, which was very strange. So trying to figure out where exactly ICE was extremely difficult because they were kind of just surrounding the entire neighborhood. And then we received reports that they were a few blocks over at another intersection. And so to have this type of occupation in a highly residential area, one of the most dense populations of African Americans in the state, was very alarming. But it was interesting. I've been out covering protests that got intense after Dante Wright was killed, after the murder of George Floyd, and I've been around flashbangs being deployed before. And so when I got home, my husband asked me, was I okay? And I was like, there was something different about the flashbangs that they deployed tonight. I said they were so strong, the entire block shook. And I think maybe people thought I was over exaggerating. And so then to turn on our local news channels and see that they actually did get in touch with that family who confirmed all of their airbags deployed. I mean, that just confirmed what I had been experiencing, and being able to juxtaposition it to other really intense protests. So I think it underscores some of the things we already know, some of the things that we've seen in executive orders that have come out from this administration, saying that he would be equipping, ICE and local law enforcement with militarized equipment. And so we have to understand that they're coming into our neighborhoods and actually using equipment and materials and weapons that they would be using if they were overseas in war.
Including chemical weapons, Don.
Yeah, stand by. I'm going to get you in, Nakeem. I'll get you in. I just want to put this report, and you'll be the first one out of it. Here it is.
We're learning more about another dangerous incident involving ICE. A family says 3 of their children, including a 6-month-old, were hospitalized after agents reportedly fired tear gas at their vehicle. Destiny Jackson says they were on their way home from a basketball game when gas grenades set off the airbags, trapping them inside as gas filled the car. After people nearby helped open the doors, she says they realized their infant had stopped breathing. Destiny says she had to perform CPR to revive her own child.
Me getting my baby, having to get my baby like mouth to mouth. I thought I was dying, honestly. And the way I felt, I could imagine how my kids felt, because I'm a full-blown grown adult. I just knew that it was even worse for them.
And late Thursday night, a federal judge in Minnesota ordered the release of a Liberian man 4 days after heavily armed agents were seen using a battering ram to enter his home. The judge said in his ruling that his Fourth Amendment rights against unlawful search and seizure were violated. Garrison Gibson was in his home with his wife and 9-year-old daughter when he was arrested. He's being held at an immigration center, according to the Associated Press.
So there you go. Sorry, Nikema, go ahead.
No, I was just going to piggyback off of what Georgia said and to say not only are they using these military-grade weapons, but they're also using very strong chemical agents like green gas, and deploying that around the community. So, you know how when all of this started, a lot of Black folks in our community said, hey, we're sitting this one out, right? As if we can be hands off when they're coming into our community. Even the second story you showed about the Liberian man who got released, to a detention center, that happened in North Minneapolis as well. Again, predominantly African-American community, descendants of American slavery who are being impacted by the actions of ICE. So think about these chemical agents. So all of us are frontline activists, right? So we've all experienced tear gas. We've all been shot at with rubber bullets and all those things. But they're coming in, that's bad enough. But like Georgia said, they're coming in with military grade weapons and materials, waging war against innocent people. And they don't care if you're an immigrant or you're an American citizen. Everybody can get the smoke. That's pretty much what they're saying. They don't care if you're a child. I mean, how many Republicans have we seen come on air on any news stations or anywhere denouncing these attacks on little children? Not a single one, which I just feel is diabolical. That baby could have died. Those other children could have died, and they are remaining silent. That lets you know the level of evil that we are dealing with here.
Thank you for saying that. So here's the thing. I'm glad you mentioned the folks going on television. I'm going to play you some stuff of people going on television in just a little bit of what someone from DHS had to say, which is shocking. But because they're getting so much misinformation on, if you look at corporate media, mainstream media, I'm an independent journalist, right? You are an independent journalist as well, Georgia. These people sit around and they watch this misinformation all day. And I like to go out and ask people about it. And so I went out today, no more than 2 hours ago, and spoke to people on the streets. And this one shocked me. The amount of misinformation that this man is ingesting and believing and parroting is unbelievable. Here it is.
What do you think of what ICE is doing in Minnesota?
Am I allowed to say what I think?
You can say whatever you want.
I think all the chaos is caused by these paid agitators. When Obama was president, he did the same thing, and the Democrats were crickets about it. Now, because they hate Trump so much, they make a big deal.
You might have a point about that, but they weren't beating people up in public when Barack Obama did it.
They weren't resisting as much.
Well, because they were using due process. Like they had to have a warrant.
They had warrants.
They don't have warrants.
They're going after the worst of the worst. Seriously, illegal aliens that have criminal records.
Sir, that's not who they're going after. I've been out there. They're going after citizens. These are American citizens that they're picking up. They're not illegal aliens. And most of the people, most of the people who they pick up have no criminal record. You want to see the facts? Can I show it to you? 73% of the current ICE detainees have no criminal convictions.
I'm stunned. I thought there were warrants.
No, there are no warrants.
You mean they without warrants?
Yes. They did. Yes, and they're picking up American citizens.
I watch the news constantly.
You watch Fox News constantly?
Well, I flick on to CNN and MS Now.
But what do you watch the most?
Fox News.
That answers your question. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
What do you think? What do you think there, Eliza?
I'm stunned too, right? Part of what's frustrating is that, people like Georgia Fort has been continuously lifting up what is happening on the ground with accurate and real information. I mean, you can see it. It's well researched, well reported. There are no instances of fake false news coming out of Georgia Force reporting. Nikema has, I don't even know how many press conferences, how many rallies, how many protests that Nikema has organized and orchestrated on this very issue, in which people have plenty of opportunity to get real and urgent and present and factual information. And yet, on the heels of that, and it probably only took you maybe 10 seconds to Google what you researched. On the heels of that, we have so many people across the country parroting these talking points, these horrible, hideous, deadly talking points that this individual was so stunned to learn. And so I was just stunned. I was almost speechlessly stunned by him being stunned, despite the fact that the information is really ever present. It's what do you want? What reality do you want to see? What America do you want to see? And so many of these people are seeing the America that they want through the prism that they want to see America through.
Nikema, Georgia, as an independent journalist, what do you think?
That's the thing is media is such a powerful tool. Malcolm X had a quote that the media is so powerful, it can make a lie the truth and the truth a lie. And so I don't think it is
And at the end of that, the
accidental.
other part of that quote is that he'll have you loving the oppressor and hating the oppressed. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so under this administration, I don't think that it is accidental that we have seen them strategically target the media. Even here in Minnesota, there has been consistent reports of journalists being tear gassed, being shot at with rubber bullets or different canisters. And even there was a really strange disinformation campaign that was launched against the publisher of the biggest newspaper here in the state of Minnesota, where users on X, MAGA supporters, they used AI image generation to unmask the agent who fatally shot Renee Good. And then they posted the name Steve Grove on with that image, plastered it all over X, and told people to go find Steve Grove, the guy who shot Renee Good. But that's not who shot Renee Good. He's actually the publisher of a paper. And so it's really unfortunate for our industry in its entirety, when I think people for the last decade in media have been trying to regain the trust of Americans, to now see it weaponized for political gain, for the political agenda of this administration, is extremely dangerous, because what a lot of people are not naming is that we actually have an information war that is ongoing right now. But on the other side of that, I would say it is allowing an opportunity to emerge for independent journalists like us, who are on the ground, who are with the people, who are continuing to amplify the facts.
Okay, if you think that was frustrating, and if you think that you were at a loss for words on the last person that I interviewed, that I showed you, you will be flabbergasted at what I'm going to show you next. But I need 2 minutes to get a word in, and then wait till you hear what happens on the other side. A word from our sponsors. Support for the show comes from Lean. We've all seen those fad diets, a juice cleanses, a cabbage soup. You lose a few pounds and then you gain it right back. And usually you gain a little bit more, a lot more. By the time most people hit 60, they have lost and regained hundreds of pounds over their lifetime. What I didn't realize is just how damaging that cycle can be. Doctors call it weight cycling. Nearly half of Americans do it. You lose 10 pounds, you gain it back, plus a couple more. It's exhausting, it's frustrating, and it's hard on your body. That's why Lean caught my attention. It's a non-prescription oral supplement created by doctors. It's not an injection, and the science is solid. It supports weight loss in 3 ways. It helps maintain healthy blood sugar, it helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting it into energy, which helps keep the weight off. So if you want to lose weight at a healthy pace and keep it off, add Lean to your routine. Get 20% off when you use the code LEMON at takelean.com. That's takelean.com, and use the code LEMON, and you get 20% off. This episode of The Don Lemon Show is brought to you by Graza. You know I love to cook for friends, and lately what's taken my food to another level is Graza. Graza is my olive oil of choice. Fresh, high quality, extra virgin olive oil at an everyday price. I just love saying Graza. They pick, press, and bottle their olives all in the same season. You can see the harvest date because it's right on the bottle, and that matters. So they have 2 oils. I keep on hand. Sizzle is perfect for cooking, roasting, sauteing, everyday meals. Drizzle is a bold finishing oil, great on salads, bread, and yes, even ice cream. So I'm always hosting. So good olive oil is essential to me. You can taste the difference. And I love having both bottles on the counter. Right now, you're going to get 20% off of your first order when you go to graza.co and use the code LEMON. I recommend the duo sizzle and drizzle together. That's graza.co and use the code LEMON. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to our sponsors. It's important that we have those so that we can continue to stream. So we appreciate that. Okay, if you guys thought you were at a loss for words, back with now the group here, then this is fair warning to all of you. Okay, I know it's going to be very triggering. So here we go. This is DHS spokeswoman Tricia McLaughlin on what she calls fear mongering amongst the media. Here it is.
What do you say to those who watch that and other videos that they're seeing themselves? I mean, this is not just the mainstream media. This is people are seeing these videos and they're concerned that a place like Minnesota is turning into a police state, and they're going up to U.S. citizens asking for ID and using
I think that
tactics.
there's a lot of fear mongering going on. I think by the media.
But it's not. Hold on. Let me just correct you right there. Let me just. They're watching these videos and using their independence of mind. It's not the media.
No, actually, it is the media, and we're seeing it time and time again by saying things like the police state. What we're seeing is rampant violence against our law enforcement, highly coordinated. We have our legal authorities. When individuals see videos like that, you have to ask the question, was this individual obstructing law enforcement, which is a federal crime? Were they assaulting law enforcement, which is a felony? Were any of those instances occurring before this video was cut? Because you saw a very short cut, and that's what I'm talking about the media. There is not a lot of context that's being out there.
Then why don't you allow ICE
officers
officers to wear the cameras?
We of course allow them to wear. They often
they all have. Will they all have body
we
cameras?
We are working on that with the one big beautiful bill. Actually, I think we can talk about the incident from last week where that law enforcement officer. News, though. If I can finish, that law enforcement officer, he actually filmed himself being obstructed by these individuals who are on the ground who are harassing him. This vehicle being blocked in, and that actually largely vindicated him. And actually everything that DHS has said up until that point was corroborated.
Well, I mean, it hasn't been corroborated. The investigation is ongoing. The secretary came out shortly after and said that the victim here, Renee Good, was a domestic terrorist.
Yes.
And we've spoken to many experts who said at the very least, we don't have enough facts, there's not enough information, and it's too early in the investigation to make that claim.
So there you go. And that's what just lying. And I guess I think people are going to believe that. I mean, there's no investigation that has taken place. That's part of the frustration that you have, Mr. Darris. It's part of the frustration that you have, Miss Levy Armstrong. You have that. And, I'm sure it must be the same for you, Ms. Ford, because the people are not getting any answers in Minnesota. And her explanation to me, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like she was trying to defend them by saying it wasn't a police state, but then giving the exact definition of what a police state is. You want to take that, Eliza Darris?
Actually, I'm going to defer at this point to Professor Nekima. She's a law professor, actually, and during our press conference, part of what allowed me to really bolster the point that I made in terms of whether or not locally, because there was this question in the air of, based on the supremacy clause, whether or not our local officials have the ability to prosecute or to investigate and to charge a federal agent who may or may not have broken our state laws. And so, I was bolstered by law professor Nekima Libby Armstrong, who asserted quite clearly, yes, we do have the ability to investigate and to charge. Now, whatever decision comes later would come later, but we do have the authority to do that. And so just based off of, what was said, I'm just going to defer to Nekima to give an analysis on the spokeswoman's statements.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Well, one, I was a law professor for 14 years. So now I'm still a lawyer. I'm out there with the people though. So I guess that's my classroom, right? When you're having elected officials tell lies before the public, gaslight the public, and when there's no counter, the public is going to believe what they hear. So that's what makes the press conferences that we have as Black activists so important. People trust our voices because they've seen us out there for so long. They've seen us be effective, able to break down the law and the facts and provide a completely different perspective than what they may see in mainstream media or what they're hearing from the Trump administration and even from Democrats, right? So we're being gaslit. We all know this, but the public doesn't know this. And when elected officials remain silent, people just fill in the gaps, either based on the lies from the Trump administration, or they fill in the gaps from the silence, that's happening. And they assume that our elected officials are doing all they can. And so what we've had to encounter over the last week and a half is countering this disinformation and misinformation campaign, trying to activate those who are progressive to actually use their voices to fight back. Because we remind them, look, justice delayed is justice denied. And our leverage is to push our governor to do more. He called in the National Guard, and he said that he was calling in the National Guard essentially to preempt Trump, from trying to federalize the National Guard and take control. But at the end of the day, the National Guard isn't helping the people, right? The National Guard is really there to protect buildings. And so we're having to educate folks about the fact that our governor has the authority to instruct the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to conduct a fair, transparent, and impartial investigation into the killing of Renee Good. He has not done so. The Attorney General, Keith Ellison, County Attorney Mary Moriarty have said they're undertaking an investigation, which we think is wonderful, but there's been no timeline. And there's no law enforcement agency attached to this investigation. So as Black activists, we're having to, as Georgia Force says, change the narrative, right? And educate people about the truth, because people will believe the lies, especially if they don't take time to research, and especially if our Democratic leadership is not being forthcoming because they don't want to be accountable for using the power that they have to protect the people and ensure that justice is actually served.
One more I want to play you. I hate to do this to you, but here is the same person speaking out, this time on racial bias inside of ICE. Here it is.
Told reporters yesterday that ICE may ask people to, quote, validate their identity when asked about Americans carrying proof of citizenship. Can you clarify what exactly that means? Do American citizens, as of now, need to carry their passports or other immigration documents to show that they're citizens?
I am so glad you asked this question, because I think that there's a lot of confusion there about this. We have incredibly targeted immigration enforcement operations. So what's happening there is reasonable suspicion. If somebody is in the vicinity of this operation, of this target, then they could be asked for their identification. We've been vindicated by the Supreme Court, September of 2025. You all saw a case out of Los Angeles where they said we can use a reasonable suspicion. I think I've seen a lot on this network and other places where they're talking about this is racially based. Absolutely not. Racial animus is no place.
She still hasn't answered the question about whether citizens should carry their identification and passports, but keep going.
DHS, and is of course not used. We're using what is protected under the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
All right, let's dive a little bit deeper into that.
Absolutely.
I want to play this video of a recent incident in Minnesota that has received attention.
Do you have an ID on you, ma'am?
I don't need ID to walk around in my city. This is my city.
Okay, do you have some ID then, please?
I don't need ID.
If not, we're going to put you in the vehicle and we're going to ID you, please.
I am U.S. citizen. I don't need to carry around an ID in my home.
Well,
this is my home.
Where were you born?
This is my home.
Where were you born?
Minneapolis is my home.
So that video was filmed by a woman who, as you heard, said she is a U.S. citizen. Why exactly was she stopped? Was there reasonable suspicion, which is a legal bar, as you noted, that a crime was committed in that situation? And why was he asking her, where are you born? Like, what was he basing that on?
Sure. So either this is, and I haven't seen this video before, so there could be two circumstances here. Either this is a targeted operation and she's around the vicinity of it, around the target. There's reasonable suspicion because there might be a descriptor, or she could be 5'6" and they're looking for somebody who's 5'6". That could be part of it. They're looking for somebody. That could be part of it. The other piece of it is it could be, I don't know if she was obstructing law enforcement, if she was assaulting law enforcement prior to this, but they either had those Title VIII authorities under the U.S. Code 1357, or they had that reasonable suspicion.
Okay, none of which, she wasn't doing any of that. They walked up to her on the street, and then they eventually left because she stood her ground and she said, I don't have to show you any identification. I'm supposed to be here. They took her picture and then they left. They harassed her. But what she is describing, Miss Attorney on the panel, she's describing racial profiling. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. And it actually reminded me of what they did in South Africa during apartheid. You know, if you were Black, you had to have identification with you, your papers with you at all times, or you would be arrested and detained. So it's the same practices happening here in the United States without justification. And they know exactly what they're doing. And I was just talking to another activist before we came on your show. And I said, you know what we need to start doing? We hold press conferences, say, yeah, we know what ICE is doing. We know how our government is responding, but what about those Epstein files? We need to start flipping the script on them, because this is just a big spectacle to detract from Donald Trump's presence in the Epstein files. And I think about, what if we can switch the news cycles to start focusing on the Epstein files and turn this whole thing on its head? Because that's all that this is about: gaslighting people, playing games, being manipulative. These people are not as dumb as rocks as they seem. They know exactly what they are doing. It is all intentional. And from Donald Trump's first day in office of his second term, he has deliberately worked to keep everybody's head on a swivel, so you can't keep up with what's going on, you know, at the end of the day. But these people, they know full well we just need to start turning it around. What's up with these Epstein files? Who's in there? Donald, you in there? Is that why you're creating these spectacles? That's where so the next press conference, that might be what it is.
Right. Turn it up.
I'm with you on that. We're on the exact same page. Go on. Who else? Anybody else?
Well, I would say, you know, people might find this shocking. I agree when she said media is the problem, you know, but not for the reason she stated. Media is the problem for allowing people like her to come on air. Just because you have a title does not mean that you have credibility.
This is me hugging you. I mean, the high five. There's the high five right there. Thank you very much.
Independent journalism looks good on you, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
You
and
too.
So the thing is, it's like, if people are going to Fox News to get that same rhetoric, then why can't people turn to CNN to actually get the facts? Instead, they're giving people like her airtime, and it diminishes the credibility of these platforms. And so I think there has to be some accountability and ownership for people having these false sense of realities, this delusion. And it's because everywhere we turn, we are being force-fed these narratives, these lies. And so when you really break it down, you're hearing American citizens being asked for their documentation, their paperwork. If that doesn't make you outraged, I mean, then you must want us to live in a dictatorship. I know here in Minnesota, the ACLU has launched a class action lawsuit because at this point, I believe there's more than a dozen Minnesotans who are U.S. citizens who have been arrested and detained by ICE, including several white individuals. And so this is actually, in my opinion, transcending beyond just a race issue. It is an overreach. It's unconstitutional. And to just drill down and double down one more time on the media point, when I've had opportunities to speak to our press locally, the thing that I've been calling them out about is, if you are going to continue to be neutral about the dismantling of our democracy, then don't expect to be protected by it. You can't stand on the sidelines while our democracy is being attacked, it's being dismantled, our constitutional rights are being violated, and you're being neutral, you're being quote unquote objective. But then when your journalists are shot with rubber bullets and arrested, now all of a sudden you want to scream about the First Amendment right. But when citizens are on the streets being unconstitutionally arrested and unconstitutionally harassed for paperwork, then you want to be objective and neutral somehow. And so the media can't have it both ways. You can't sit here and say that you care about accuracy and facts, but then allow people on your platform who spread this rhetoric, racist rhetoric, which in the state of Minnesota, Eli, I heard you talking about this before we came on, like the fear, right? Like a lot of local officials here are paralyzed by fear, which is extremely real in the state of Minnesota. With just less than 6 months ago, one of our elected officials was assassinated. And so people are terrified, not just because of their jobs or their social capital or anything, but people are in fear for their life because political violence is real.
Thank you for that. Mr. Eliza Darius, or Eli, as she calls you. I don't know you well enough to call you that. So give us some, is there any hope here? Just give us some words, whatever words that you might have for
Oh, absolutely, there is hope, or we wouldn't be doing any of this. I fundamentally, with every fiber in my being, believe that we will win. They came up here to melt. They didn't come up here to perfect whatever they had in mind. I'm pretty sure that, they are stunned by the ferocious response. We are ultimately going to overcome. We are ultimately going to win. We cannot, we cannot not win. We don't even have that option. It must feel nice to sit in some of these seats and feel as though some of your decision making is optional. We don't feel like we have options. We have to fight back. We have to defend our democracy. We have to secure this for our future posterity. I mean, I have a daughter that is due to be born tomorrow. I want her to inherit an America that sees her value, in which law enforcement officers understand what due process means. And they're not cosplaying. They don't undergo just several weeks of training before they're now out actually implementing a potentially deadly force. They actually understand that you must have a warrant. You cannot come into someone's dwelling without a warrant, to such an extent that now we are hopeful that people can secure legal representation in order to fight for their own liberty from what was an illegal seizure and search anyway, right? And so I have utter faith, utter confidence in us. We have been through really dark and difficult days before, and we won, and we're going to win here too. I've seen us overcome too much to believe that the darkness that we are experiencing now won't abate, and that the goodness and the love that we see and that we experience between neighbors, between loved ones, treating one another like family, showing up, giving people, I believe in us. And because I believe in us, I know that we will overcome this energy right here. We will win. Failure for us isn't even an option. I don't even think about failure. It's really all about how do we get to the W.
So my question is, shouldn't you be rubbing somebody's feet and holding their hands right now? If you got a dog?
I promise you, I will. As soon as I turn this StreamYard off, I'm going straight to the room.
I'm going to let you go.
Every time have a protest or a press conference, Eli is always saying, I got to get back home to my wife. My wife's going to have this baby any day now. And I'm like, Eli, we need you on the front lines till she has this baby. That's my perspective, but he always wants to be home with his wife and his child and his baby that's on the way. So congratulations, Eli.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Congratulations, Eli. That's great. And look, you be safe. We need you on the front lines, but we also need you to be safe so that you can be you said it's your daughter, right? You can be a great girl dad when your daughter is born, hopefully tomorrow, and it's all going to work out. So go grab her hand, rub her feet, And this stream is over for you. Get out of here. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for the great work. Thank you for the great independent journalism, for informing us on the law, and for being an activist. I really appreciate all of you. Come back anytime you want. You know how to get in touch. I really appreciate it. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. 100%. So there you're informed. Where are you going to get this? Where else are you going to get this? I'm telling you, we're on a mission and we're on a rocket ship to the top, meaning to inform the American people in the right way. And I feel that's what we're doing. Okay. I feel this is our moment right now. That's what I feel. And I receive that from the universe. I feel that. Thank you, Almighty. Okay. And so if you want to know anything about, go with me for a minute here. I need you guys to stay with me for a minute. Don't anybody go anywhere. So put up the website. If you want to know anything about the show, donlemon.com. I have a couple of things that I need to tell you about. If you go on the top of this, Andy, I don't know if you've refreshed it. Can you refresh it again? There you go. Okay. So if you go to the donlemon.com, and you can click on how to vote for us for the NAACP Image Awards. Okay. If you are, no matter what you're watching us on, no matter what platform you're watching us on, okay, Substack, okay, Twitch, okay, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, go to donlemon.com, and then, or it should be pinned to the top of our chat. And then you can click on, we're nominated for Outstanding Podcast, Society and Culture. There you go. All you have to do, vote, Andy, hit our page, hit our thing, and vote, okay? Go back out of that, go back to donlemon.com. The second one, Outstanding Podcast, News and Information, boom! That's what you do, okay? And then click out of that. Number 3, Outstanding News Information Series or Special. Boom, click on that. Thank you. And then go back out. One more, Outstanding Host in a Talk or News Information Series or Special Individual or Ensemble, or like I like to say, Ensemble. And click on us there and vote. So it's really easy. It's right at the top of the website. You can go there. Okay, go back out to the website and scroll down. It should have the dates on it. Does it have our DL Hughley dates? Okay, so go with me here. New York on 2-3, February 3rd and 4th. February 3rd, DL Hughley and I will be at City Winery for DL and DL Anything Goes. And all you have to do is set where it says buy tickets. You can click on that. Back out of that one. We're going to be there on the 4th as well. You can do the same thing. You can catch us on February 2nd or February 3rd. We're going to be at City Winery in New York. Back out. Okay. And then Atlanta, we're there on the 17th and 18th. And you can go and catch. You asked where you told us to take it around the country. That's what we're doing. This is where we're starting. All right. We're going to do 2 more in New York City. There was one that we were going to do, 1 more in Philadelphia. I cannot make it. There was 1 in Boston that I cannot make. So we're going to reschedule those. And then we're going to start with Atlanta. And then we're going to go across the country for a bigger tour. So go click and buy your tickets. Get it now before it sells out. I know people wait to the last minute. I don't know. And then all of a sudden they can't go. You don't want to do that. You like watching me on the stream, you should come and watch me and DL Hughley in person. It is always a fascinating and entertaining show and an informative show, okay? So now you know how to vote for us. Now you know how to go see us. And also become a member. Go to, there you go, the YouTube, the arrow right at the top. You can subscribe. You can become a member. It's all right there. That's how we stay viable. Back out of that, our other sites are up there. Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. Twitch.tv/Don Lemon. Twitch is like, you can click on any of those things and make sure you subscribe or sign up for notifications. And then our merch store, Substack as well. Our merch store is there. We got some new stuff. This hat, the black hat is there. But we got some new stuff that we want to show you. We have great sweatshirts, all the things. There we go. That's the new stuff. That's the new long sleeve t-shirt that we have. And this is just a t-shirt. The first one, the gray one, you can get it in any color. And then there's a Black Lemon Nation signature t-shirt. And then we have it's not a sticker. It is, what do you call it? A patch that you can embroider on. I don't know if you can stick it, you can do whatever. And then we've got our cute little baby onesie that comes in 3 different colors, in blue, pink, and green. Okay. So you asked for it, you got it, you got merch, and there you go. Awesome new merch. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone. I may see you. I'm definitely going to see you on Monday at 10 a.m. And that's Dr. King's Day holiday. And so I am emceeing the Dr. King breakfast in Chicago at Rainbow Push, Jesse Jackson's organization. I am an old friend of their family, and I lived in Chicago for a long time. And so they asked me to come back and to MC the event. The mayor's going to be there. The governor's supposed to be there. They're checking the schedule. He may have a conflict, but anyway. And then there are going to be all state leaders will be there as well. We are going to stream it for you, okay? Live for you at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Monday from Chicago. And then I may pop up in Minneapolis. I'm trying to work that out on Sunday evening. So I got a busy life and a busy schedule. We're going to try to work all that out for you. And I will let you know. Check the community page and check our social media. Okay? So be informed without being inundated until I see you back here for sure Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time for Hot Topics right here on the Don Lemon Show on the Don Lemon channel. Turn the TV off. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.